Hello, welcome back. Just Flicks with Jesse again. Another review. I'm doing a little catch up here, some stuff I've watched recently. This one is going to be for VHS 99. So I don't remember how many VHS movies there are. I know I didn't do great research for this one. I did some, but they've done several. They've been putting them out for several years. Varying degrees of quality, in my opinion. But I will say that's true for each individual film as well. Most horror anthology movies, I feel like, there's highs and lows. Of course there is. There's going to be some you like, some you don't like. Some that really shine, like really shine. Some that are just like, how did that end up in this movie? This one, I dug it a lot. I really did. I watched 94, VHS 94, not too terribly long ago. And it was all right. I think there was a couple in it that I'm not going to do a review for that now, but there were a few in it I thought were pretty, they were decent. But there's just some that just suck. Again, that's just the kind of what you get with these kind of movies, with the anthology films. VHS 99, I would say, for the most part, I pretty much liked all the entries. There were stuff to kind of, I don't know, there were certain parts of certain stories that were like kind of, I don't know if they were annoying or I just didn't like, which is fine, you know what I mean? Maybe it kind of worked in the story, to be honest with you. I won't go too deep into spoilers. I'll have a couple of story points here and there, but I'm not gonna like go like ruining anything for anybody. I think the through story, or like the wraparound kind of story, wasn't even really a story. It was kind of funny. It was just like stop motion with like little green army dudes that somebody made, and it felt like a high school kid, like back when I was a kid in the 90s, making home videos and doing something like that. So that was kind of a fun little thing to throw in the mix. The first story, Shredding, was about, it was like a band back in the 90s, these kids, and they went to play a concert at a venue where another band from the 90s had a big tragic accident, and I'll leave it at that. It was pretty cool. A lot of the characters were irritating as fuck and really easy to hate, and I think maybe that was the point. That was something I was going to like bring up, is something that bothered me. They weren't likable. There was like one likable character. But I think that was kind of the idea, and it worked in the story. It was a pretty fun one though. It was pretty. I like these because they're short, so they usually get to the point pretty quick. They don't drag shit out too much. I think number 2 was Suicidal Bid. And that one was a pretty good one too. There was like a girl trying to get into a sorority house, and it took some kind of sick turns. And it was kind of dark and messed up, and had some freaky moments in it. And that one actually, I thought was pretty impressive. Again, a bunch of really unlikable characters, but I think that was the point and what they were trying to, who you're rooting for and who you're not rooting for, and it was kind of surface level stuff, but it worked as a good story. Number 3, Ozzy's Dungeon, was a weird one. It was an interesting concept, and I think especially kids that grew up like 80s, 90s with like the kids game shows like Double Dare, stuff like that is what it really, I think, is what they kind of took it from. Again, not going to dive too much into what happens, but yeah, it was kind of, it got really sick. At certain points, it got pretty nasty and gnarly, but it wasn't one of the highlights, but it wasn't a bad one either. It was just kind of I was curious to see where it was going, I guess, and it took some weird turns, but it was definitely worth watching, I guess. Number 4, The Gawkers. This one I like loved and hated. Again, characters for the most part were pieces of shit, and I couldn't stand them, but the premise was interesting, and the payoff was pretty cool, like unexpected and cool, and they did some really fun stuff with it, so I'm going to leave it at that, not digging too deep. It was basically, this is back in the early days of like webcams, 99, right? So this was kind of a new thing, and some creepy pervert kids take advantage of that with a really pretty girl who moves in next door. And things take a wild twist. So we'll leave it at that. Hopefully I didn't get too much away on that one. Now the true highlight of VH99, which is cool because I hope I didn't get these ordered, wrong. I think I got it right. Was To Hell and Back Again. And this is a wild one because it was like, this is literally like a journey to hell. And I want to say stuff, but I want to like be careful about how I put it because again, I don't know if I'm going to ruin this one. This is not like one you can spoil. But as I'm watching it, there's a character pops up, like these guys end up in hell. I'll just put it this way. They're like filming some kind of weird ritual and something goes wrong. And the camera guy and his buddy end up in hell. And it's done pretty fun and pretty well. And it's like a haunted house. It really feels like you're running through a haunted house. But there's like a character that pops up kind of to help them. And it's almost like a Gollum-like kind of situation. But the girl was in Deadstream, which is another movie that I really enjoyed and I just did a review for, so hopefully you've already seen that one. I believe her name is Melanie Stone, something like that. Plays this character called Mabel, and she's wild. It's a trip and very much standout. I'm like, man, I recognize her because I just watched Deadstream. I'm like, this girl looks so familiar. And then the camera guy hurts himself at one point. I'm not going to get too much detail about what happens. But he injures himself, and there's this scream that he does. And I'm like, man, that really strikes a chord. I remember that. It's the dude from Deadstream. It's the team that made Deadstream. Again, was it Joseph? Is it Joseph? Yeah, Joseph and Vanessa Winter made this segment of VHS 99. And I was like, okay, now I get why I dig it so much. You could just feel that same tone. There's still a lot of humor there. There's a lot of gnarliness to it, but that was just kind of a fun little treat to have I guess unveil itself in front of me as I was watching it. Like, this is starting to kind of feel familiar. I'm recognizing things here. But it was a wild little entry into that anthology for VHS 99. And yeah, it's a pretty good time. I guess I would have to say, I don't know, of the ones I've seen, because I don't think I've seen all the VHS movies. The original was pretty cool. Definitely had some highlights, had some cool stuff in it. Some great directors have come out of that. And I think they're coming back for the new one that's being done now too. So we'll look forward to that. Anyway, I'm not going to drag this out. I'm not going to keep talking because I'll start spoiling stuff if I'm not careful. But definitely, if you like the anthology found footage stuff, that means you like VHS. The series, check out VHS 99. It's definitely worth your time. I would say it was one of the better ones I've seen out of all of them. But anyway, let me know what you think. Please like, share, subscribe. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know which section you like best. If there were any surprises for you. Which ones, did you hate the characters as much as I did? Because some of them really pissed me off and kind of bummed me out. But I also get that was kind of the point. So anyway, not to drag this on. There's another review coming up. I'm trying to catch up, trying to do some, there's a bunch of cool movies that came out recently, and I've been meaning to do videos on them. So let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys soon.